All right, let's jump right into this. Welcome back to our virtual chemistry lab. In today's explainer, we're going to roll up our sleeves and explore the incredible, completely invisible rules of matter that govern literally everything around us. We'll be putting on our scientist hats to look really closely at a few fundamental experiments, and we're going to uncover exactly how elements combine, react, and basically build the physical world as we know it.
So to start us off, I want to pose a core question, something any curious student might ask when they're observing a chemical reaction for the first time. Can matter simply vanish into thin air? I mean, think about it. When you burn a log of wood in a campfire, or when you watch a liquid bubbling away on the stove, things really do seem to just disappear. But is the universe actually losing mass, or is it just playing a really intricate game of hide and seek with us?
Section 1. The Missing Mass Mystery.
Okay, to solve this mystery, we're going to set up a classic, hands-on experiment at our first virtual lab station. You probably even remember this from your earlier science classes. It's the good old baking soda and vinegar reaction. Here's how our procedure goes. Methodically, for step 1, we take a clean, dry, conical flask and pour in about 20 milliliters of vinegar. Then, step 2, we take about 2 grams of baking soda, also known as sodium hydrogen carbonate, and we add that right into the mix. Step 3, we just observe. Almost immediately, you get this brisk effervescence, lots of intense bubbling, fizzing, the whole shebang right inside that open flask.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. We have a tale of 2 digital scales here. If we run this reaction in an open container, the final weight on the scale actually drops. It's lower than what we started with. But if we repeat the exact same experiment and tightly seal a balloon over the mouth of the flask right before mixing, the balloon inflates and the digital scale reading stays exactly, perfectly the same as the initial weight. So, why the difference?
Well, the answer is that the missing mass in our first open setup didn't vanish at all. During that chemical change between the vinegar and baking soda, a gas was formed, specifically carbon dioxide. In the open flask, that gas simply escaped into the room, taking its mass right along with it. But when we use the closed system, you know, the one with the balloon, it successfully trapped all that carbon dioxide gas. So the total mass of our reactants was completely equal to the total mass of our products. Nothing was lost.
Section 2. Lavoisier and mass conservation.
And that brings us to a rather monumental figure who formalized this exact laboratory observation, Antoine Lavoisier. He's widely known as the father of modern chemistry. Lavoisier took mass observations just like the one we did with the balloon and elevated them into a universal scientific law. His profound realization back in 1789 proposed that in every operation, an equal quantity of matter exists both before and after the operation. Basically, he proved that no matter how drastically a substance changes its appearance, whether it burns up, bubbles over, or transforms into a completely invisible gas, the underlying matter is never created out of nothing, and it's absolutely never destroyed. It's merely rearranged, like a giant puzzle.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this definition, the law of conservation of mass. It strictly states that matter can neither be created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. This is the golden rule, the fundamental foundation for every single chemical reaction we're ever going to study. The mass you start with is always, and I mean always, the exact mass you end up with.
Section 3. The Law of Constant Proportions.
All right, having completely solved the mystery of total mass, let's step on over to our next lab station. We're going to shift our focus now from the total mass of a reaction to the specific internal ratios of the compounds themselves. So think about students collecting water. It naturally raises a whole new, super curious question. If we collect water from a rain shower, or dip a flask into a flowing river, or pump it from deep underground in a bore well, does that compound change its fundamental makeup depending on where we found it? I mean, is river water chemically different from rainwater?
The answer to that is a resounding no. If you take 9 grams of purified water from absolutely any source on planet Earth and you decompose it, you will always, without fail, obtain exactly 1 gram of hydrogen and 8 grams of oxygen. The mass ratio of hydrogen to oxygen is a constant 1 to 8, always, every single time. We formally define this as the law of constant proportions, or Proust's law, named after the prominent French chemist Joseph Louis Proust. He was the one who showed that compounds always contain elements in definite, fixed ratios by mass, totally irrespective of their source. In fact, our source material even notes that this applied to ancient civilizations. They used a red rock pigment called cinnabar, and they found it always contained mercury and sulfur in an exact mass percentage. We're talking around 86.22% mercury and 13.78% sulfur. The rules of chemistry are just wonderfully, perfectly consistent.
Section 4. Dalton's atomic building blocks.
Now, knowing that these laws exist is definitely different from knowing why they exist, right? Let's move to our theoretical station. We really need to explain exactly why these rigid laws of mass conservation and constant proportions work so flawlessly every single time. And to answer that, we have to look to John Dalton. Born in England, Dalton was a teacher of mathematics, physics, and chemistry, and in 1808 he presented an atomic theory that proved to be a massive, real game changer in the study of matter. Dalton effectively solved the mystery by proposing the concept of tiny, indivisible building blocks.
Let's quickly run through Dalton's rules for these building blocks. He postulated that all matter is made of extremely tiny particles called atoms, and crucially, these atoms are indivisible, meaning they literally cannot be created or destroyed. He also stated that atoms of the same element are perfectly identical in mass, and that they combine in simple, whole number ratios to form compounds. This just beautifully, perfectly explains Lavoisier and Proust. Think about it. If atoms can't be destroyed, well, mass is conserved. And if atoms combine in fixed whole numbers, then the mass ratio of a compound is always going to be constant. It just clicks perfectly into place.
Section 5. Atomic stability and compounds.
Okay, bringing us to our final concept in today's explainer. We know what atoms are, and we know they combine in these fixed, reliable ways without ever losing mass. But what actually drives these atomic building blocks to link up and form the countless compounds we see around us in the first place? Why bother? Well, it all comes down to a fundamental search for stability. Individual atoms, just sitting on their own, often lack an octet of electrons in their outermost valence shell, which makes them electrically unstable. So, to achieve that nice stable octet, they combine. They might share electrons to form covalent bonds, or maybe they transfer electrons to form ionic bonds. But ultimately, the formation of every single chemical bond, every molecule, and every compound we've discussed today is simply just atoms seeking stability. So we've seen how perfectly these atomic rules align to govern our physical world. But I want to leave you with a really fascinating question to ponder after this explainer wraps up. We've heavily established today that mass is fiercely conserved in chemical reactions. But as science advances and we look deeper into the universe, are there any changes in matter out there that do not obey the law of conservation of mass? Keep that curiosity alive, think on it,